Hello, family. This is Charles Thomas coming at you again. Another 15-minute increment on the condition of the black man. First, I want to give you the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum, shalom, and peace again. The subject matter, again, is going to be dealing with the effects that the African American churches are doing, the destructive and toxic display of unfaith that's coming from the pulpit and the African American churches across the country and in other continents. They seem not to be able to find the truth that is very explicit in scriptures. They prefer to teach you about religion and the main dynamics that's in scriptures is your adherence to a covenant, not the adherence to a religion. And that's been the devastating factor in the black community that is not allowing us to channel our energy and our spirituality into the quickening of our ancestors, the matrix of life, and our display of non-unification and elimination of self-hate. We have to learn how to forgive ourselves as a people because of the destruction of the Christian religion that was manifested on us and prevailed on us during our slavery period, post-traumatic slave syndrome. Read the book by Joyce DeGruy. She gives a great explanation of the problems that we have to deal with and forgive ourselves of, because it was prophesied that we would go into slavery. But the slavery that we endured is like no other slavery that was written in scriptures. The brutality that we had to endure is ungodly under white Christianity. The slaves that were talked about in scriptures, they did not lose their identity. They were not destroyed or not, like that servitude slavery is total. I would take that any day over what we've been through as a people. And the only reason that we endured it is because we have to fulfill prophecy. And that's what we're doing. We have within ourselves as a people the ability and the story to write the Third Testament as to what happened to us under this white cross in Christianity and the belief in a false God or false image that Moses was trying to explain to us not to be, not to recognize when you are under a curse or when you are worshiping the image of another person. Okay, that was Moses' big problem. That was the no-no, that Moses was given the message from God, don't get yourself in that situation again. And here as a people, we find ourselves right back in that situation. So, how do you get out of it? You follow the instructions of Moses. You don't ignore what Moses wrote in the scriptures. You cannot believe from the white perspective what is in the Bible. White people are only giving us, Christianity is only giving us religious perspective. Moses gave us the covenant perspective. And if you can't understand that, and these preachers can't explain that to you simply because their instructor did not give him that side, didn't give him the covenant side. He gave him the religious side so that he could dominate the poor and the enslaved. You have to understand this as a people if we are to move past this self-denial and this self-hate. The only way out of our condition is to understand that God wants you back under the commandments. Plain and simple. You have to understand that. Because if you keep doing the things that you're doing behind the pulpit, then the black community is going to keep getting the same sinful hate that we've gotten, and we got to stop repeating generation after generation the hate that is among our people. We are a blessed people, and we are blessed, and we are under the favor of God if we would only act under the covenant or the commandments that Moses was getting. It's the same story. It's the same story. And the children of Israel under Pharaoh is no different than us as a people under a different Pharaoh. But it's the same hate that Pharaoh had for the children of Israel that white America has displayed upon the black people, the melanin people. The melanin people are the chosen people. The non-melanin people are the unchosen people. They don't want you to believe that your melanin is part of the matrix of your righteousness and your Creator blessed you with. And every time I hear a news reporter talking about black ice, it just gets under my skin. Everything that pertains to black has to do with death or negative. It's clear ice. But they want you to understand because they relating black with something that's bad. The black market, all these other idiot things. And then they come up with the White House. And the White House is supposed to be good. And black is supposed to be bad. Everything, every issue that was black, when in funerals you wear black. When somebody dies, or Black Monday, it just go on and on and on, putting you down psychologically. And that's their intent. And they're not going to change. If they did change, you still cannot trust them. You have to trust only in the commandments. And I ain't saying that you got to hate anybody. I'm saying you got to be who you were created to be. You were created not for sin. You were created for righteousness. We're not a revengeful people or hateful people. We just off the path of righteousness. We have to get back under that path of righteousness that Moses wrote the first 5 books explaining the importance of it, and they said to pass it down from generation to generation. You can even see the story in the story of Joseph. I was reading this book that W.D. Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad's son, wrote. He is explaining the story about Joseph from a spiritual perspective, not a religious perspective. Joseph was a righteous person. He was innocent, but his other 9 brothers, they had a different mother. And they were a sinful people based on their treatment or their behavior towards Joseph, who was a righteous boy. And he was young. And they conspired, or they decided to get rid of him, and they threw him in a well. And so a caravan came along, and they seen him, and they put him, and they took him to another country, and they bought him, and they took him to another country, and that country was just as corrupt as the brothers because they didn't have no morals. They were a dominating or a sinful people because the queen tried to assault Joe, tore his clothes from the back. There's a lot of hate in the world. This is what the story is all about. You hate somebody and you mistreat somebody. But if you are under the commandments, you got protection. If you're not under the commandments, you don't have any protection. Then Joseph was put in prison. He'd rather be in prison than be under the synopsis of all these different religions. The big lady, which is the Catholic Church, was a representation of the lady that tore his clothes from the back because she was envious of his innocence. She tried to change him, but he refused to change because that's all he knew was innocence. So when he went to prison, he was in that environment, just like we in the environment of another man dominating us. And then I remember Mufti Muhammad was explaining in his book how he told the dream of these guys in the book. One guy came to him to tell him about his dream. He was dreaming that he had birds eating from his head. And Joseph explaining that. And if you under religion, another man's religion, or if you worshiping false images, you get birds plucking at your head. It's wrong. Yeah, and then the other brother, he explained his dreams. But wine. Wine is something, is a spirit. Anything with alcohol, and they call it spirits. So if you're making wine, we drunk off religion. We don't know anything. We don't want to give up that intoxication. In order for you to get off alcohol or get off some spiritual thing that seduces you into a nothingness or a stupor, when you're hooked on something or got a habit, that's what the wine presser, people making wine, that's what it was all about. Because religion has made us into winemakers. It ain't doing you no good. It's just keeping you intoxicated. So you have to look at things different. You can't look at things the way that white Christians have imposed upon you, because their job is to keep you drunk or to keep those birds plucking at your brain. They're keeping you dead, useless. This is what the story is all about. But Joseph maintained his innocence and his righteousness because he never gave up on the commandments. The same thing with the story of Joseph. Joseph lost everything, but he did not lose faith in the commandments, in the morals, in the righteousness, in love. Even his wife told him, curse God and die. You have to believe in what you were created to be. You were created to be a righteous person. And if you let somebody talk you out of that righteousness with some feeble myth, because like I told you before, Jesus was a Hebrew. Jesus was a melanin man. Okay, and why did they bring him back as a white man? He was still a Jew. He died as a Jew. He would have came back as a Jew. But you let these white people trick you into saying that he came back as a Christian, a white man. So believe in Christianity. And I've traveled the whole world over, and everybody that's under the influence of Christianity is struggling. Melanin people, I'm talking about. I've been to Africa, Mexico, South America. I've been everywhere. And I was pulling into the harbor of Havana, and they got this big image of a white Jesus. I was in Brazil, and they got Christ the Redeemer on top of this mountain. You can see him. You can see him before you see anything else. But it's that white image, and that's the destruction of the melanin people. You cannot believe in anybody else other than yourself, and righteousness and obedience to the righteousness. You're better off as a people and as a person. You have to learn how to forgive yourself and come back into your rightful place as to who you are under the commandments that all the prophets were teaching you about. They didn't teach you to get into a religion. They teach you to stay away from religion. So you have to understand this. And if you get a chance, check this book out. It's by Mufti Muhammad, and it'll give you the other side of the story. And it'll say your job is to forgive yourself and show mercy to yourself and bless your family through righteousness and obedience to good morals and a better future for your children. Stop passing down that white image for your children to get up under, because it's white supremacy. You cannot love another man if you don't love yourself. And this is the book that I wrote, Self-Hate. The church is stimulating the issues of supremacy. I inverted the flag. You cannot contain the universe. The universe is bigger than stars and stripes, which is a symbol of division. The universe is greater. You have to get outside of yourself to be yourself. And there's my other book. This book explains the covenant. And I wrote it in try to be simple enough so that Pookie can understand it. Because educated people have a tough time grappling with who they are and what the covenant is all about, because they know too much. They think they're smart, but they're not smart if they're out of the covenant. And these are books that you have to get and understand. You got to read. Open your mind. Be more open to who you are and who you want to be. And then this diagram of Kabbalah explains what was given to Moses that's in your melanin. The planets, Mercury, Pluto, Saturn, Venus, all these attributes is what you were created in out of the mud that God created Adam in. You are the people of Adam. You have to understand that you're very important. And I'm sorry I'm out of time. If you like this, give me a thumbs up and stay with me and start reading and learning and believing in yourself and believing in your Creator and the prophet Moses, Abraham, and Jesus. And catch up with Melchizedek. You can track Melchizedek all the way from Abraham all the way up to Christ, Jesus Christ. Yeah, Jesus was in the order of Melchizedek. Melchizedek protects you if you're under these commandments and good morals. So lift yourself up. Peace, and I'll catch you down on the block. Bless you.